Now, this is a project that I chose to do for a class at a Roman G's Botanica. And this is just simple stone painting where we were going to do things in sort of a metaphysical nature. So, what I did was I first took some dark pink, almost magenta, and then covered it with purple on the other side and sort of blended the two together. You can see I'm not using gloves, so I'm getting kind of messy here. You know, it didn't take long for it to dry. And what I'm doing is getting out now my acrylic pins. Now these have a fat end and they also have a thin end. So it's the fat end makes it where it's quite easy to make dots. So what I'm doing is just putting dots all around. I have no pattern to begin with. I'm just doing it completely freehand, and when mistakes come along, then we'll fix them. I'm putting a circle around that one. Doesn't look wonderful to me, but I know I can fix it. And that's the part you have to remember about painting anything. You can always paint over it. You can always fix it. Here, this part is, I'm just continuing the dots is what I'm doing. Going around and sort of now sectioning it off with dots, thinking that maybe I'll go in and fill in these different sections and see what comes of that pattern. Now, a lot of people do use. There are stone patterns that people get. There are some things you can buy where you make your own stones. Very specifically, they're a specific shape. They're round, and they come with a slotted template that goes over it, and those are making for mandala figures on stones. I prefer to use natural stones, ones that actually came from a river instead of making a cement one. So, see, I don't really like this fat pink line that I've made. So what I've done is gone back over it and put in some dots of purple on top of it, and then chose the yellow to make a triangular pattern on the other side to give it something totally different, something that is not dots. So all of this is just coming straight out of my head. Some people do like to put a picture beside them so they can sort of transfer that. Now, transfer is probably not the right word. Transfer, you think of carbon paper or templates or things like that. But to give them a visual that they can go with to sort of put that image on the stone. Of course, it is a stone. They'll all be different shapes. But if you need that, that's great. I mean, just use pictures right out of your head, whatever you want to do. It's all meant to be fun. It's all meant to be totally you. And the designs we make on things, they're never what we intend them to be in the beginning. It will always transform. At first, we think something is going to turn out terribly wrong. Usually, most artists feel that. And then we just keep going. You just keep going until it becomes whatever it is it's supposed to become. Now, here I did a flower, which you'll later see I wasn't happy with. So I decided to outline it. And then outlines are okay. So I decided, no, not really what I wanted. So I decided to fill them in, and then I'll go back over it later with other elements. Black, colors like black and white on stones among the colors really pop out and let you see. They sort of add a different texture than just color. It's almost like they're laying on top of the stone in 3D against different colors. It's hard to explain, but do use blacks and whites whenever you can. I really like the acrylic pins. They are good for stones. They're not always great on paper or other objects, I found, because they're not as thick as putting on acrylic paint with a brush. Putting them in dots like this, though, is really, you're pressing down and you're putting a good amount of paint on the surface of the stone. So you can see this is starting to transform and look much different than it did in the beginning. It's actually starting to take shape. See, I think this now is beginning to look really interesting, and what I'm doing here is turning these circles into evil eye symbols. So here it did become a metaphysically charged project, with the addition of having the evil eyes almost hidden in the stone. I showed it to a couple of people until I pointed out there were evil eyes in it. They didn't notice that. And then later I did a completely different stone with an evil eye theme, which you may see on the thumbnail. So that's the thing, just keep playing, and playing is a good word because we all need to play a little bit. Here's just some finishing touches, tiny little dots between each of the dots and circles, giving it more texture. Now this stone I did not paint on the backside. I was preparing it for the class as a demonstration. So I didn't run out of time, but I will go back and possibly paint the backside. Usually for me though, once I've done a project, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. So I didn't want to go here going around the edges to make sure the very lip of the stone is covered. It almost to me has an Easter egg sort of feel to it. And here I'm actually going in wherever I think the color needs to be punched up a little and go back over it with it. I chose the red, just a little bit of red here and there, not prominent, but just so there's a slightly different color mixed in. And there you have it. It's the very basic way that you would paint a stone. You could do it with brushes, but I really liked using these acrylic pens.